Okay.
Let's get it,
Sorry
dude.
if this video is so long.
Listen.
It's tea time. Let it be known, everyone, this is probably the only vlog where Gabe is drinking a tea.
I'm drinking a tea, everyone.
And no coffee. Look at him. He's
I've already
so
had 2 coffees today. Dude, it is so hot. Why do they make tea so hot? What's the point? You're just sitting for like 30 minutes waiting for it to cool down. We have our cute little JG mugs that Jess got.
So cute. Because this is a cozy, chilled chat today. So I was like, let's have tea.
This is true.
Another day.
Ow. Okay. Ow. Another vlog.
Another day, another advice Q&A.
Q&A, that's true.
It's not like a real Q&A though, it's like advice.
It's not a Q&A about like, what's your favorite blah, blah, blah. It's not information about us. It's us giving advice. I'm gonna put this back.
I tweeted out and asked if you guys had any advice questions for us, and I got so many, so we screenshotted some kind of that were, what am I trying to say? I screenshotted the ones that were kind of asked the most, if that makes sense. So hopefully you guys enjoy my oh.
Sorry, I just walked downstairs and then had to go up the elevator.
I didn't notice what you were doing. I just thought you were back there.
Did you not see it?
No.
It was probably really bad. The Office episode where Michael Scott's like this. Here we go downstairs.
Oh yeah.
Just like leans over.
Alright, I don't even know which one to start with.
Just start at the very beginning.
Okay.
It's a very good place to start. When you read, you begin with A, B, C. When you tweet, you begin with a couple of best friends can be. Also, guys, we're blurring out names just so it can stay anonymous. So
you guys feel safe.
Yes.
This is a safe place.
Even though you kind of like blasted it on Twitter, and it's on your Twitter, but just in case.
Anyway, a couple of my best friends, it can be sweet sometimes, but often are toxic towards others, and I don't really like their behavior. What should I do?
I mean, there's one thing where it's like have a real conversation with them about it. Like
It's
go to
tough
them.
if they're your best friends, because I've had friends that have been toxic and I've had to cut them out of my life.
Well, they were like kind of your best friends?
Yes.
Ish. Not like your actual lifelong best friends, but you were very close with them.
Yeah, and it was the best thing, probably for the both of us, to stop being friends.
See, I feel like step 1 is like maybe have a conversation with them about it and say something along the lines of like, I'm bringing this up because I love you and because I want the best for you and our friendship. Talk about it like lovingly. Don't like bash the person.
And it's awkward, especially if you are like me and you don't like confrontation. You just like everyone to be happy. It can be awkward, but sometimes you need to have those conversations. And
Yeah.
I know it was awkward for me, but at the end of it, it was what was best. I'm not saying you need to cut them out of your life. Every situation is going to be different.
And people do change sometimes. One thing I wanted to say about that was, you guys have probably heard the saying, like the 5 people that you hang around the most
Is what you're going to become.
is what you become.
Yeah.
So it's like, who's the kind of person you want to become? And you need to surround yourselves with those kind of people. Wow, am I even saying sentences correct? Because it'll inevitably have an effect on you and who you become in the long run. So that's just kind of like an evaluation of looking at your friends and who you want to become and who you want to surround yourself with and that kind of stuff.
Very true.
Yes.
Any tips on saving money / budgeting? And this was one that we got a lot.
I'll take tips. Any amount, really. You can just send it to me on PayPal. Was that funny?
That's funny.
Was that funny?
Good job.
Thanks. Guys, she liked a joke of mine. For once. I made her laugh.
Oh my
God. Okay, Milo, don't spill my drink.
We did get this question a lot on saving money, budgeting, saving money to move out, on paying off debt. We got a lot of it.
Yes.
And it's something that we are both very passionate about.
Yes.
Also, we're learning about.
Yes. We thought that we could do a separate video dedicated to that because we got so many questions about that.
I feel like there's also a lot that we would want to say. There's a lot I would want to say that I feel like would create a whole video, not just one question. There was a lot of questions, so my guess is that people are interested.
Yes, and if that interests you and you're not subscribed, subscribe for when we post it. It'll be in the near future. Send tips.
Next question is advice on waiting for the right person.
I've said this so many times. The way you act is what you attract thing. I feel like every Q&A I end up saying that.
Yeah, I know. I think when you're a teenager especially and like everyone around you is dating, I remember I wasn't really dating and then everyone else was, and then I think you get in your head like,
I need to be dating someone.
Should I be dating? Because like everyone else is dating.
Listen, Here's one thing. Relationships have two outcomes. Either you stay with that person for the rest of your life, or you break up with them at some point.
Yes.
So like, that's just what's going to happen. So you can spare yourself the heartbreak and stuff like that if you know that that person isn't someone you want to spend the rest of your life with.
Or even if you're really young, I guess, and just thinking about that outcome, like, it's pretty rare that the person that you date at like 13 or something is the person that you're with. Like, it's I only know a few people that have had like high school relationships that have lasted. So I guess that's something to think about.
I had something in my head that I kind of forgot because I was like, how many people do we know that have like, waiting for the right person is kind of, it's interesting because you want to practice being the person that you're waiting for, if that makes sense.
Yes.
If you have like all of these like, you know, standards, you know, like I want them to be a virgin, I want them to, you know, just whatever boxes that you want them to fill, are you acting that same way? You know what I mean? Like, I've said this in other Q&As too, but like when Jess and I met, if I was out here in LA and I was like dating a bunch of other girls and trying to like sleep around and talking to other girls or whatever, she wouldn't have been attracted to me. One of the reasons why she was so comfortable being in a relationship with me like right from the start and vice versa was because we were both acting in a certain way that was kind of like setting ourselves up for that healthy relationship. Like, she knew she could trust me being in a relationship with her, like, especially because even when I was single, I wasn't doing any things that...
And you were really open with that.
I am not making sense.
No,
it's
you
this
are.
tea. The tea's messing me up.
Right.
Oh,
Tea.
that's
Terrible.
that's the tea.
Good one. Wow,
You like that one too? 2 for 2? Be content with singleness. It's good.
The season of singleness can be like the best.
But it can also be really tough. And I think it's because every person needs to be like dedicated to something they're passionate about. And I think if you're able to find, like, while you're single, focus that, like, if you're, you know, a Christian like us, focus that into your faith, serve in your church, and try and like do that sort of thing. Wow. This tea's messing me up, dude. In work, find something that you're passionate about and apply, you know, your passion to that. Oh, what's the verse in Proverbs? There's a verse in Proverbs that says like, an idle mind is the devil's playhouse or something like that. I think if you're like not applying your emotions and passions to something else, you can focus your time on maybe a relationship that isn't the best for you, but that's like what's there now, and you haven't like decided to be... I feel like I'm not wording this good, but does that make sense? Is it making sense?
Yes.
Like, apply your passions and efforts into bettering your life, and then when that person comes in, they're going to see that and recognize that and you know, and love that, and then they become a part of that bigger equation rather than just focusing effort and time prematurely into something that is not supposed to. Yes, did you end up finding that verse?
Yes, it is in Proverbs. Proverbs 16:27. Idle hands are the devil's workshop.
Boom.
Very close.
Clink.
I was thinking of a joke, and
What are
I
you
just
thinking
didn't
of a
say
joke? What was the joke? Well,
like-
tell me the joke. Tell me the joke. Go to the... Tell me the joke.
It's like, you're so rude.
No, it reminded me of from Parks and Rec, the guy with the mustache. His laugh. What's his name? The main guy, Ron Swanson.
Ron
How did
Swanson.
Yeah, you know how when he laughs sometimes he's like like that. That's what yours sounded like.
Anyway.
But like a cute version,
All right.
not like a
Ron Swanson.
Ron Swanson version.
Next question? Or do you want to hear my joke?
Oh yeah.
It was just like clink, clink, let's have a drink.
Yeah. Next question. Let's go.
Because we went clink and then I was going to rhyme. Anyway, it's fine.
Dude, you're on fire. You should.
Perspire.
All right. Yeah. Let's really get into this next question.
Advice on how to deal with jealousy or insecurities in a relationship.
Oof.
Communication was the
Was
first
it?
thing I thought of, yeah.
Letting each other be aware of what those insecurities are, so then the other person, if they have your best interest at heart and they truly care for you, will do their best to make sure that you can trust them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, again, that can be hard. Like, sometimes it's hard for me to go to Gabe about some insecurities, but then once we've like had that conversation,
It makes a relationship so much better.
and like we had one really recently, to
Yeah.
be honest, and it was a weird conversation. It was hard for me to have, well, for the both of us,
Yeah.
talking about insecurities and stuff, but it's so important, and you kind of feel better afterwards, knowing that it's completely open.
Yeah.
In terms of jealousy, I would just say, like, hopefully each partner is going out of their way to make sure that they're not doing anything to make you feel jealous.
Yeah, it's funny because like in relationships, people are like, "Oh, you want to make the other person feel jealous." I'm like, dude, that is like the opposite of what you want to try and do. Like that is so wrong. I would say, as an example for this one, at the beginning of our relationship, I had a lot of trust issues because I had been cheated on in my past relationship, and once Jess knew about that, and I made her like aware of that, she like did the opposite of what I was used to make sure that I knew I could trust her.
Yes, I wasn't out here trying to make him feel jealous because like, what's the point? So hopefully that answered your question.
Does this happen with your tea bags where the string comes off of the...
Oh my gosh.
Okay, read the next question. I'll do
Okay,
that.
he's gonna go dispose of the tea bag.
Yeah.
He's throwing out the tea.
Oh, that's funny, babe.
How to overcome shyness and how to be more confident with talking to people around you. I find it so hard. This is definitely more of a question for me, not for Gabe.
Perfect timing with the tea. For
I
me to
know.
walk away. Yeah, you go. You take it away.
This is something that I've talked to a therapist about. I've talked to friends about. I'm not shy in every situation, but there definitely are situations where I'm like the most reserved or like a little held back. So I think tips on that would be, number one, it is nothing to be ashamed of because it's part of your personality, right? Would you agree? It's part of your, like, part of Gabe's personality is being really outgoing and quite loud.
It's like a cultural thing that being loud and charismatic and stuff is better.
Is like the personality that people look at.
Strive to be, so then people just expect like, well, if you're a good, fun, hangout kind of person, you're gonna be loud and charismatic. And that's just like now culturally like baseline of what people expect the best kind of people to be like, which is totally not it. Personalities are on like a huge spectrum and you fall in a bunch of different places, and being more reserved is one of those things, you know?
And that's exactly what my therapist talked to me about. When I was having some issues about it, she was like, just because that's your personality doesn't make it a bad thing. Like, people hopefully shouldn't make you feel bad that that's part of your personality.
If they do, go back to the first thing, have a little conversation with them about it. And if they don't understand it and you're not gonna like click and be friends, then like...
I would just say make an effort, even if it's just small. If you're at the grocery store and you make conversation with the cashier or...
Compliment someone.
Yes.
Find something to compliment someone about, and that will start a conversation and make someone else feel really comfortable opening up to you as well.
We were just talking about this the other day.
Because you did it.
We were at the doctor's and the lady that was like checking my stuff, I was like, I'm going to compliment her, and she had a cute nail color, so I was like, I love your nail color. And then all of a sudden that opened her up to me, opened up more conversation, and then it was super friendly. Very good. Compliments are always super easy.
Good conversation starter.
Definitely. Last thing I guess I would say is like try and get out of your comfort zone, like little steps like that.
Yeah.
Do you think I answered that all right?
That was great. You crushed that. Probably the best one that we've done. Probably because I wasn't talking.
Whatever.
You know, whatever. Next question.
How to keep the love alive after marriage?
Ooh.
Doesn't exist.
Be intentional.
Be intentional.
Be intentional. Clink, clink, let's take a drink.
The word intentional is one of my favorite words. Being intentional is like number one. And communication.
So you go through like the honeymoon stage. There's like people who are like, oh, the honeymoon stage always ends. And then other people who are like, the honeymoon stage never ends. You know what I mean? Like if you're truly in love, the honeymoon stage is never gonna end.
Do you think ours has ended?
No, I think...
Do you?
No, I think it is something you inevitably have to put effort into to keep alive.
Yes, I think at the beginning it's like a easy, obviously natural honeymoon thing. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so new, blah blah blah.
I want to spend all my time with her, all my attention's on her, all this stuff. But then as
time goes on,
marriage happens, time goes on, you get
business
busy,
happens,
you have
a dog. You really have to be intentional with, I guess, the honeymoon side of it. I totally agree.
On Friday, we fly in from Florida to LA, and that happened to be Valentine's Day. So we like couldn't do anything on Valentine's Day because we were flying across the country. So the next day, I made it an effort like, hey, it's Saturday. That's our day off. So I'm going to take Jess, and we're going to have a whole day. I'm going to take her on a big, long date for the whole day. And I made sure everything that we did wasn't just like, I'm taking her to lunch, then I'm taking her to thing. Whatever. I made sure that each place was like very intentional, and she loved that. Like the first place, I took her to a massage place that she was said a while ago that she loved and she wanted to go back to, and she wanted to take me there, and there was one in Sherman Oaks that she wanted to go to. So then I booked it, and then I told her that morning, hey, we're going here, and she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you remembered. I was trying to be intentional with that. Then I took her to the lunch spot that I had taken her when we first met to celebrate our 4 years of meeting each other. We've gone back there every year, and like that was like, hey, and then we're going to this specific place for lunch because I know that means a lot to you. You know what I mean? Like just trying to be intentional with each thing that we do.
I was actually saying this to Gabe yesterday. If you guys know about the love languages, my new love language that I've made up is intentionality. I think that's how everyone would feel loved. Like the fact that you chose that massage place and you chose that lunch place, even if it didn't mean a lot to you, you did it because it meant a lot to me. He took me to a furniture store an hour away that I've been wanting to go to. Not because he wanted to go see it, but because he knew it meant a lot to me. So obviously Gabe is like so sweet, really sets the bar high, but being intentional can just be writing them a letter saying things that you love about them, or making them breakfast. I know like you feel loved when I make you breakfast. And
That sounds...
what?
Was
that weird?
No, it just sounds like a typical like guy girl, like she's cooking me food and I love it.
No.
But like literally I'll eat breakfast that I cook and it's like eggs and bacon. It's like something basic. And I'm like, yeah, okay, like it tastes great. I cooked it. But when Jess makes it, I'm like, dude, this tastes so good. Why does it taste so good? It's because it's made with love.
And intentionality. So yeah, I think to keep the love alive is being intentional. Still go out of your way to try and make them smile and stuff.
Don't get lazy in your relationship is what we're trying to say.
Yes. And have some time for like real quality time date nights too. Any advice for someone who is struggling to decide on a career? We did get this one a lot. I'm a creative person who lives in an area where creative jobs are extremely limited and I'm really struggling. Love you guys so much. Your channel means the world to me. We did get a lot on career and not knowing what to do.
I do relate. I mean, you as well. I was in Florida. There's not like an industry there. I mean, there is in Miami, but I wasn't even in Miami. Like I was north of that. As a teenager, I tried getting in to the entertainment through like modeling or this or that, but it was just tough. And now we live in like such a great time where social media is such a thing. I'm not talking about being a YouTuber or anything like that. I'm just talking about social media and just the internet in general being such a good outlet for creativity and actually working through the internet. For example, as I'm trying to develop the board game, I was trying to find like a really good illustrator. If you guys haven't watched like a few of the vlogs, I'm making a board game with her dad, and as we were... It's sick. And as we're looking for illustrators to try and continue the process of trying to bring it to life, I found an illustrator, but he lives in another country. I don't know how creative that country is and how many jobs are available there for that kind of thing. But because of the internet, I was able to find his stuff and then hire him, and now he has a job working to develop the illustrations for our board game, which is dope. Whatever it is you like to do, whether it's like illustrating or graphic design or whatever it is, through the internet you're able to find a lot of employment opportunities that I think are much easier now to tap into than ever before.
I'm trying to think of what I wanted to do because I was always on the creative side, and I remember applying for jobs that were like a photographer's assistant, or like I'm sure in your town there must be like some creative outlet that would give you experience in that field.
Yeah, or find like a marketing company that is hiring a position in their like graphic design. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Because in every industry there needs to be a creative person for marketing and design and all those kinds of things, photography, that kind of stuff. And also, if you want to do like that internet route and try and like build your own career and not work for someone else with your creative stuff, you get a normal job, and then on your off hours, work on that stuff. You hustle. That's what I did when I was in school. I was doing my school, and then on my off hours I was hustling social media stuff. And that eventually ended up switching to where the social media stuff became my full-time job, and I could be a full-time creative.
And so what if for everyone else who was asking that they just don't know what to do, and they're struggling in like finding a career?
I'm a bad person to ask for that because I've kind of always known what I've wanted to do.
I didn't always know what I wanted to do. In university, I applied for journalism, education, and graphic design. I didn't end up doing journalism. I did education for a little bit. It wasn't until then that I was like, I guess I could do graphic design because I've always loved it,
Mhm.
but I never thought I was good enough to have it as like a career.
Try a lot, experiment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just know that I always didn't know what I wanted to do.
At the beginning of me going into work, I've always known that I've wanted to work in entertainment, but even, beginning of last year, I was so stuck in knowing what my purpose was and what I actually wanted to like do with it all, I felt kind of lost. So I guess I can relate on that level, because at the point where I was going through that whole season of like dealing with all that and then giving myself a lot of free time, I ended up
Guys, I'm just going to put on the screen what Miley's doing right now because he has one leg. Miley! Sorry to interrupt you. That was just so funny.
I gave myself time and then just started experimenting with different things and just learning to, like, I didn't know I liked designing board games. Totally different season. That was like way later. But you know what I mean? Like once I started doing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to like do more of this in the future just for fun, just because I love it. And hopefully like it can actually turn into a job. So just like
maybe,
try things and have fun.
And maybe you do need to get another job in the meantime just to save money and stuff. But while you have that job, start experimenting with different hobbies, and then maybe you'll find like your passion. Okay.
Let's get it.
Sorry
dude.
if this video is so long.
Listen.
It's tea time.
Clink.
Clink, clink, let's have a drink.
Okay.
How do you not let social media affect your life? Everyone always seems perfect and their life is perfect. Sometimes it can be a lot. Loved this question.
Yeah.
Because it's so accurate. Again, I think we could talk so long on this. The first thing that came to my mind is that Gabe and I actually get so happy when we spend a lot of time off social media.
It's weird. It's so bizarre when you spend time away from social media.
How clear your mind can be.
Anxiety comes down, stress of like comparison or whatever, those things go down. When I've like kind of encouraged to do that on social media, I've had people say like because of their anxieties or stresses, they go to social media and to watch YouTube and all that stuff. I'm sure that's a thing, and it's kind of like I guess a coping mechanism to help with that. But I find myself naturally doing that. If I'm ever down or feel stressed or whatever, I'll like open YouTube and just start watching YouTube videos and stuff. But if I force myself to not do that and spend time doing other things like just hanging out and talking with Jess or reading or whatever it is, trying to do something else,
or
going
like
outside, going to the gym, working out, whatever it is, it relieves so much more stress than going on social media.
Yeah.
As of recent, I don't have Instagram on my phone. Sebastian actually encouraged me to do that. Sababi. If I want to post something, I just download it, then I log in really quick, post what I need to post, then delete it again.
Something that is a goal for me is to have one day every month off social media, which doesn't sound like that much. That's only 12 days.
Yeah.
But I think all of us are so used to being on social media every single day, like every hour. I did it in January and it was amazing and I loved it. And I think at the beginning it's kind of weird going like, oh, I'm not like refreshing. I don't know what is going on in other people's days. But that's also normal. Like that's how it used to be way back in the day.
Like you just had to figure out what to do. You would just hang out with people and actually talk with them, or you would go outside and do something. Like when I was a kid, I feel like I was so creative then, and like instead of like watching something on social media or just like scrolling through social media, like I would go outside and play games and make up games with my friends outside, and you just didn't like have those kind of, at least I didn't have those kinds of stresses that you do now due to like social media and stuff. So it's literally just like taking detoxes from it. I think it's a really good.
We're huge on that.
Help.
So
Yeah.
I would really recommend that. And then also just, I think you already know in the back of your mind that what you're scrolling and looking at isn't that person's real life. Like for the most part, people post the best things in their life, the cutest filter, that blah blah blah. And so just knowing, I think like everyone goes through struggles, kind of helps too.
This video is going to be so long.
I know, sorry.
Okay, last question, guys.
If you've made it this far, comment.
Clink, clink. Let's have a drink.
That's going to be the quote of the year.
Oh,
I'm telling
no.
you. What do you guys do when you argue? Do you talk about it after or just let it slide? Again, we're huge for communication. In saying that though, like honestly, sometimes if I am upset or something, in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's easier if I don't bring it up. I don't know why, just sometimes I'm like, it'll be easier if I just let myself get over it. But then
I always ask, I'm like, I can tell you're upset, babe. What's wrong? Like, nothing's wrong. I'm fine. I'm
he's like,
babe,
yeah,
are you
not
sure?
gonna lying. I usually just don't want to bring it up, or like in my mind I'm like, it's going to be easier. But when we do have the conversation and we sort it out, and he hears how I'm feeling and
You hear how I'm feeling.
yes, it always ends up being better.
Yeah, but the conversations need to be approached in a loving way. Like, you don't want to approach the conversation as an argument. And if you are arguing, take some time away from
Step
each other.
away.
Step away.
Yeah.
Cool down.
Because that's
Then-
probably not going to make it any better if you're already like arguing about it. Just
Yeah.
take a breather, come back.
And then have a nice civil conversation trying to resolve the issue and find a middle ground in whatever the situation is, even if you think you're right. This is one thing that I say. Everyone is always right. You know what I mean?
Everyone always has their own side, their own feelings.
And to them, they're justified that they are correct. So you want to approach it understanding that person and why they feel they are correct.
Yeah.
Like actually being like, I could be wrong, even though I think I'm right. And they could be right, even though I think they're wrong.
Communicate, even if it's awkward, even if you don't feel like it will be worth it, but try and do it in like a calm, we're on the same.
Loving way. Love is that key word.
No, intentionality is. Cuddle.
Oh, you want to cuddle us so much. No, cuddle both of
Cuddle
us.
me.
Oh, yeah. My
Like, what do you
love.
think? What do you think when we argue? When you and I argue? Sometimes he'll growl at me. Anyway, that was a long advice video, but we were just hanging out, so hopefully you enjoyed it and took something from it. If you want us to do more advice videos, let us know, because they're fun for us to just sit and talk. I like can't tickle you through this because it's so thick. Yeah. No.
No, don't tickle. Stop tickling me. If you don't want to be tickled, don't tickle me.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. What do you have to say?
I need a stretch.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching our yoga video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a good week.
Or at whatever time you're watching this, have a good day or night.
We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.
This finger forgot to go.
That just made me think of if you were like, peace out, and you like gave the middle finger. You're just like,
Yeah, luckily it was this one.
Peace out.
From Jess.
And Gabriel, come to you.